pursuits instructor, Ian Fox.
I know the area a bit, so that'll help me over some of the others who are not too sure of the rain and the mountains, so...
Last year's winner, Army PTI Jim Wood.
You can put your foot into a bog and then come up with no shoe or foot.
Pontypool and Wales Rugby Union scrum half, David Bishop.
The boys are great, and they're helping me out as much as possible because it's all new to me.
All-round endurance athlete from Belfast, Peter Spence.
It's undoubtedly going to be tough, but that's the challenge of it, you know. I mean, don't make it easy.
Bath and England Rugby Union fullback, Chris Martin.
If the weather really closes in, it gets really muddy. I think the little bit extra power could help.
British Olympic swimming team captain Robin Brew.
A lot of us are just going to be using brute strength and ignorance and ending up all over the show.
Twice a previous winner, Marine Bernie Shrewsbury.
It all suits me. The more harder it is, I think the better I like it, really.
Dutch Marine Piet Olbersberg.
I live in Wilson, Holland. Holland is all flat. I think I'm glad that I'm finished Friday.
And they all take part in the Britvic 55 Challenge.
So we've come to the last event in our week of competitions. It's the star event, the blue ribbon one, if you like. The race from way down there, 3,000 odd feet, up to here, the summit of Snowdon. And it's the one for which we were hoping we'd have good weather conditions. As you can see, quite the opposite. Terribly windy, terribly wet, and terribly cold.
In fact, they're so bad, we've had to abandon the planned route. It's too dangerous to go over Crib Gorge. But the competitors start in the car park at Penna Pass. And then instead of going over the knife edge, they take what's known as the pig track, come round the horseshoe and make their way up to the summit.
And although Royal Marine Shrewsbury has that staggering 15 points lead, he would lose it all if he failed to survive this final event. If he's there at the finish, though, he'll be champion for the third time. Tragically, Welsh rugbyman David Bishop withdrew after an injury in event number 3, the Whitewater Swim, and has since sat it out as a spectator. Robin Brew, the Olympic swimmer, got as far as the 7th event before he also was forced to withdraw through...
This place is heaped in tradition, and many famous Indians have studied here.
A Prime Minister, government ministers, best-selling authors, artists, and an Olympic gold medalist.
Abhinav Bindra is an Indian.
It's a miserable day even by Snowdonian standards, where scenes of breathtaking beauty can be instantly transformed by sudden rain and mist into ones of awe-inspiring gloom. It seems after sharing the trials of rafting rapids, canoeing across lakes, pulling aching limbs across rocks and ropes, and taking lungs almost to bursting point, they're now going to stick together.
But almost inevitably, it's Marine Bernie Shrewsbury who breaks away first. He probably wants to take advantage of the comparatively easy running stage as the ground levels out on the grass-covered mounds known as the Horns. Behind him is Army PTI Jim Wood, last year's overall winner, who wants to do well in the last event of a week that hasn't gone too well for him. Lying third is the man who won the downhill run on a different mountain in vastly different weather conditions, Ian Fox, the outdoor pursuits instructor.
Leading the trio at the rear is Irishman Peter Spence, an unemployed computer scientist who studied at Queen's University, Belfast. Peter's an international canoeist, but also likes cross-country running, badminton, and the triathlon. He also fancies himself as a disc jockey. At the back, the two biggest men, who are finding their bulk a disadvantage. But Piet Olbersberg, who beat all comers in Holland to gain selection for survival of the fittest, has certainly not let his country down with his plucky performances throughout the week. The other guy, Cornishman Chris Martin, has been a game competitor too. But once again, it's this man's mettle which draws the greatest praise. Bernie Shrewsbury, the Royal Marine, with an insatiable appetite for competition.
Bernie Shrewsbury, though, knows that he has to be wary of the man still not too far behind him, Jim Wood, whose previous record stands for itself.
The back three still picking their way forward, with Spence and Olbersberg opening a gap on the big rugby man, Martin, last and temporarily lost in the horns. All three, though, still have some way to go to pick up the miners' path, where they'll be able to stretch their legs.
Snowdon is no place to go running for fun, even in the best weather. And events like this cannot take place without the approval of the appropriate authorities and the provision of adequate rescue facilities. But naturally, there's only one thing going through Bernie Shrewsbury's mind, and that is, how is he going to get rid of Jim Wood, who is still less than 100 yards behind him? There's been no change at the back, where Olbersberg still holds off Spence, with Chris Martin not too far behind in last place. Peter Spence can lengthen his stride now as the rain eases and the wind subsides for a moment.
And whereas rugbyman Martin has probably settled for simply surviving the event, Ian Fox, the outdoor pursuits instructor, probably feels he can still haul himself to the front. With visibility temporarily improved, he'll be encouraged to see that only about 80 yards separate him from second man Jim Wood.
Peter Olbersberg, aged 32, is a sergeant in the Royal Netherlands Marines. He's a swimmer and a walker, an expert frogman and parachutist, but one thing he claims he has little experience of is mountain running.
His counterpart in the British Marines thrives on mountain wood. Shrewsbury still has a good lead, but behind him there's a tussle developing for second position as Ian Fox gains on a tiring Jim Wood.
The back markers now trail the leaders by approximately half a mile, but it is to their credit that they're still moving with such positive action.
It has to be said, though, that Marine Shrewsbury is a man apart. Born 26 years ago in Romford, Essex, Bernie has developed into an outstanding athlete. Twice previously a winner of this phenomenally hard competition, which includes such a wide variety of disciplines, we can only wonder at how well he might have done in orthodox athletics if he'd chosen to specialise.
Jim Wood, still unwilling to relinquish second place to the tenacious Ian Fox. Both men, though, are feeling the strain of their private battle.
Last man, Chris Martin, determined to finish. But they'll all feel some justified apprehension as they proceed towards the mist-covered pinnacle of Snowdon itself. And a missed foothold could mean a 1,000-foot tumble. Behind and below, the others can only guess at what conditions are like ahead of them.
As Jim Wood follows Shrewsbury's footsteps into the fog, he's unaware of a real-life drama being enacted. A young mother and daughter on a very much ill-advised ramble had collapsed from hypothermia, and the mountain wardens and rescue men had to act swiftly. Our helicopter had by then been grounded by the conditions, so it was necessary to carry the victims to the Snowdon train, operating below the cloud line.
Meanwhile, Ian Fox has failed in his attempt to wrest second place from Jim Wood, but he should hold on to third if he maintains a steady pace now. Leader Shrewsbury emerges from the mist but it's still so gloomy he has to ask a marshal for directions. A mile behind, the Bath and England Rugby Union fullback Chris Martin shows he hasn't been in the least dispirited by the deluge or by the strain of raising his 16-stone body weight up the mountain.
Do the point of Foster's boy.
The unfortunate little girl has been found and wrapped in a waterproof camera cover to be taken to safety. Thankfully, mother and child survived. A close watch is being kept on the competitors too, as the conditions get even worse. And Jim Wood wonders how long it is since Bernie went past.
Ian Fox had hoped to do better on his local patch, but he's run a good race and is still only half a minute behind Jim Wood. The Snowdon railway track is an indication to Bernie Shrewsbury that he's almost home. Although he can't actually see the summit, he knows that he's only about 100 metres to go. A man still with a long way to go, but with unlimited reserves of enthusiasm and grit, is Chris Martin. And he's probably guessed that Marine Shrewsbury has already arrived at the finish.
Well done, mate. Well done, that's all right. 44 minutes, 7 seconds.
44 minutes, 7 seconds is an astonishingly good time in these conditions. And Jim Wood. He can also look back on an admirable performance. Ian Fox, too, can be pleased with his time, only 36 seconds behind Jim Wood on the last section.
Third man Fox now only has to finish to take second position overall. Had Robin Brew not been injured in the downhill run 2 events ago, he would certainly have been a threat to the leaders. But survival, after all, is the name of the game, as winner Bernie Shrewsbury would no doubt agree.
That's got to be one of the more miserable 45 minutes you've ever spent with them.
Yeah, that's the wind's incredible. There's just no way. You can hardly run against it. It's absolutely blowing a hoolie over there.
Cold as well.
It's very cold.
We're frozen up here.
I can imagine. I'm not too bad, funny enough. Maybe working so hard. I mean, I don't think you can slow down too much. I think you maybe have to allow the lads have to be watched carefully when they finish.
I think the back markers will be in worse condition than you because of the exposure.
Maybe, yeah. If they're walking a lot more, they're going to get a lot colder. The wind, it's the wind. I didn't believe it was going to be that windy.
And treacherous?
Absolutely. I mean, the knife edge is dangerous, but when it's like this, coming along this last bit, it's so hard. Go on, Jim! Good effort, Jim. Not far to go, mate.
A marvellous run by Jim Wood gives him second place in this event, securing 4th position overall. He gets deserved applause for fighting off that strong challenge from Ian Fox. Ian, by coming home 3rd, brings his points total to 50 for the week. And this reinforces the fact that he deserves to have climbed to 2nd place overall.
For an exhausted Chris Martin, the end is in sight at last. But ahead of him, Olbersberg, the Dutch Marine, struggles to stay in front of Irishman Peter Spence, who's still desperately trying to overhaul him. Chris Martin, confident now that he can finish, carries the flag, as he says for Cornwall, Bath RFC and England.
In front, the exhausted Dutchman's fate is sealed as Spence at last gets his chance to overtake. It will probably remain a mystery to himself as much as anyone else, where the Irishman obtained that extra energy. He's certainly finishing with a flourish.
Well done.
His time of 54 minutes 6 seconds is 10 minutes behind that of winner Shrewsbury, but it's nevertheless a most praiseworthy run.
Netherlands Royal Marine Piet Oldersberg came to the competition with high hopes of doing well, and his points total of 38 just pips Jim Wood for third position overall. He's run himself out and he collapses at the finish. The medics move in to do the necessary. Fortunately, there's nothing seriously wrong, and a warm bath and rub down is prescribed as the only treatment necessary. Pete confesses that mountain running doesn't bring out the best in him. With no opportunities to train properly for this kind of event in his homeland, he took to running up and down the stairways of high buildings to condition himself.
Chris Martin, the flag bearer, nearly home and dry. A popular giant from Cornwall who's been a charismatic character throughout the week. Oldersberg heads for that hot bath whilst Pete Spence reflects on the race.
Both of us were fighting it out the whole way up. I've never had to fight so hard in my life. You know, the wind, there's one stage I nearly got blown off the path, you know, so light. That's quite frightening.
But you survived the week.
Yeah.
Chuffed with that?
Yeah, I must have been out pleased. I'll be telling you lies otherwise.
So that I'm not accused of giving you pneumonia. Off you go.
Okay, cheers.
Special praise for last man Martin for hauling his 16 stones all the way with such energy, enthusiasm, and above all, good humour.
Well done, Val. Well done.
So the contest ends with the last man home in triumphant mood, confirming that survival makes you a winner, regardless of where you finish.
Sure, eh? That's going to be one of the worst hours of your life, wasn't it?
Well, I tell you what, that is absolutely horrendous.
So a third win for Royal Marine Bernie Shrewsbury, a superb athlete if ever there was. In no other sporting contest can a hat-trick be so hard-earned.
The result, in reverse order, 8th, unfortunately withdrawn due to injury, David Bishop.
And despite amassing 48 points in 7 events, swimmer Robin Brew was relegated to 7th position by also having to withdraw through injury.
Chris Martin, the Bath and England rugby fullback, scored 33 points and finished in 6th place.
Peter Spence, the all-rounder from Ulster, was 5th with a total of 36 points.
Jim Wood, the Army PTI and British Olympic biathlete, scored 38 points and finished in 4th place.
In 3rd place with 39 points, the Royal Netherlands Marine, Piet Oldersberg.
"50 hard-earned points gave outdoor pursuits instructor Ian Fox a well-deserved 2nd place.
So, victory once again, and the Britvic 55 challenge plate, presented by sales and marketing manager Roger Waymont, goes to the magnificent Marine, Bernie Shrewsbury.
Well, it's all over. We're at last back at the party after the do.
Aye.
Bernie, today must have been horrible, really.
Yeah, for the third time, well, the second time of running up there, I know it was a different route, but the weather conditions was absolutely lethal. But the main thing about today was the worry about people with exposure. I mean, you had the old bison here, bringing up the back, bringing up the rocks and the flags. I mean, you lot didn't know because, as you've seen by the visibility, there was none. You never knew what condition these blokes were in. In fact, as it happens, you know what he's like, big and hard, no problem. But when Peter came in, Jim sorted him out because he had literally had exposure. You know, he was down, mate.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned because a couple of problems I've had in the recent months, and today's conditions wouldn't be conducive to being healthy.
I really felt for the lads, me and David at the top there. We wanted to see everybody come in, and you know, we were there for what, 20, 25 minutes waiting, and we're absolutely frozen. I mean, the wind was howling across the top there. I don't know how these fellas got up there, across the passes, things like that. It must have been absolutely freezing and soaked. When we saw the big Dutch lad Pete come in, and I mean, he did his most to make it. I mean, when he got there, he almost collapsed. The whole hypothermia was setting in.
You caught your first sort of bout of flu and then pleurisy or whatever it turned into by hanging around at the end of a run, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the biggest problem. I don't want it to be sort of an ongoing thing. Otherwise, be written off forever for people like this.
Peter Spence overtook you only in the last 100 metres.
I remember that he passed me. The whole way we had a big fight together.
Yeah. Peter Spence was the one filling up with pints of beer last night.
The story is, what do you think of snow?
I heard you want to buy it.
Whenever I go back, we're going to have to get a bigger mountain in Ireland to train on. It's definitely not big enough. The one up the road, that is.
You mean it was too short for you, and what you really wanted, you'd have come in first if there'd been another 10 miles of it?
No, definitely not.
Ian?
The ladies just didn't want to go today.
They didn't want to go?
No.
What, tiredness from the week?
I don't know, some days you get that, isn't it? The body says you can run and the legs just say, no chance.
Chris, did you get pretty cold?
It wasn't actually cold I was suffering through. It was a little bit of boredom, I think. I was looking up and I couldn't see where I was.
4 hours on the mountain, mate.
Couldn't see where I was going. So I picked up a couple of flags and was waving the flags around, trying to keep myself warm. And was actually singing songs, trying to keep going.
What a monster he is.
I tell you what, it's exciting.
I've never seen a monster in my life. English fullbacks monsters, they're babies. Oh look, it's a scrum of punter.